It was the summer of 2019, a simpler time before lockdowns and pandemics. The biggest news story in New Zealand on January 14th wasn't a political scandal or a natural disaster. It was a group of unruly British tourists who had made an unforgettable mark on the country. Their misadventures began at Auckland's Takapuna Beach, where they were filmed dumping rubbish and empty alcohol bottles on the sand. When confronted, the family responded with threats of violence, a spectacle that quickly spiraled into an international fiasco. Among the witnesses was Krista Kerno, who narrated the shocking events. The young boy in the video came up to our group and emptied his bag of chips on our blanket before laughing and running away. She recounted, "That was just the beginning. When the family was ready to leave, they abandoned their trash without a second thought. Locals, disgusted by their behavior, called them out. We asked them if they were going to pick up their rubbish and they said they weren't coming back," Kerno explained. "So I followed them and said, 'Hey, don't come to our country and disrespect it like that.'" The family's response was defiant. They argued that if anyone had a problem with their littering, they could clean it up themselves. After all, that's what the council was for, they claimed. What happened next turned from a public nuisance into an act of intimidation. That's when they started getting quite violent. Kerno recalled, "About 4 or 5 women surrounded me in a half-circle, threatening to hit me. Even their grandmother and a child got involved, saying they wanted to punch my head in. The little boy, not more than 10 years old, repeatedly shouted that he would knock our brains out." As the family was leaving, Kerno attempted to take a photo of their vehicle's license plate, a move that triggered an aggressive response. The driver swerved onto the curb, nearly running her over, before jumping out of the car and trying to snatch her phone. A bystander intervened just in time, urging him to calm down. The tourists then drove off hastily, their boots open in a desperate attempt to obscure their number plates. This disturbing beach altercation was New Zealand's first introduction to the so-called unruly tourists, but it would not be the last. What started as a local annoyance soon turned into an international incident. Auckland Mayor Phil Goff famously dubbed them a pack of a-holes. Their behavior even caused diplomatic confusion, as they initially claimed to be Irish before it was confirmed they were English. Further investigations revealed that this wasn't their first offense. A month earlier, Tina Maria Cash had been caught stealing energy drinks, rope, and sunglasses from an Auckland service station, twice. Over the next few weeks, the family embarked on a chaotic rampage across the North Island, refusing to pay for meals, trashing hotel rooms, and intimidating anyone who dared question them. From Auckland to Hamilton and Wellington, they left a trail of destruction. Reports surfaced of them swearing at staff, walking out on restaurant bills, and causing disturbances at motels. A Facebook page, Gypsy Scammers in NZ, became a hub for tracking their movements, with both sightings and threats against them appearing regularly. Their notoriety peaked after an incident at Te Rapa Burger King, which led to them being banned from all 83 Burger Kings across New Zealand. In response to mounting public outrage, Immigration New Zealand issued a deportation notice. However, rather than retreating quietly, the family continued their antics. The next day, Tina Cash pled guilty to theft charges related to her petrol station visits. Despite their looming deportation, the family pressed on with their travels, attempting to book a motel room in Wellington while lying about their numbers. When caught, they were swiftly turned away. Further reports emerged of their stay at a Levin motel, where they left cigarette butts, empty Red Bull cans, and towels crumpled in the shower. The cleaner later described the room as stinking of poo. With their reputation in tatters, the family eventually left New Zealand, landing back in England on January 28th. So, who exactly were the unruly tourists? In their own words, they were the Johnsons, a respectable family who would never dream of behaving badly. They claimed to be related to the 10th richest man in England, with their most recognized member, John Johnson, telling the press that they had been unfairly targeted. He alleged that he had been threatened by a man wielding a plank of wood at an Auckland Bunnings store shortly after the Takapuna Beach incident. However, Facebook painted a different picture. John Johnson was actually Joe Doran, while his wife, Miley Eileen Doran, traveled with their baby. Joe's parents were also part of the group, with his father frequently driving their vehicles, including a green Honda Odyssey purchased in Hamilton. Traveling separately was Joe's brother, David Johnson, who was the father of the two aggressive young boys. His partner was none other than Tina Cash. Not all members of the group were Dorans. Among them was James Nolan, who was wanted by New Zealand police for a series of roofing scams. Unlike the others, he did not leave New Zealand voluntarily. Instead, he fled the country in February 2019 using someone else's passport. The Johnsons, real names Doran, Cash, and Nolan, were not just an unruly family on holiday, they were serial troublemakers with a history of deceit and fraud. Their brief, chaotic tour of New Zealand may have lasted only a few weeks, but their infamy lives on. For Kiwis, they will forever be remembered as the tourists who came, saw, and wreaked absolute havoc.